Well, the scenes on BBC Question Time this week were an utterly disgusting farce that has proven all the conspiracy theorists correct. And I'm going to expose every moment of it that misled viewers and didn't hold the left wing accountable. The BBC Question Time immigration special wasn't a debate really, was it? It was more of a stacked deck, a farce with small boat migrants seemingly bust in to grill Reform UK while the left got that free pass. Well, Yusuf, Reform UK's head of policy, faced down an audience planted with those illegal migrants. Here's what happened.
So the man in the white shirt, now I know you came over on a small boat. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
What's your response to what you're hearing? Because obviously everyone is talking about people like you.
Leaving the convention doesn't just affect the migrants.
Okay.
In Northern Ireland and damage our security cooperation.
Let me ask you about your situation. I mean, since we were talking about immigration in this programme today, we thought, and we would be talking about people like you, we would see if there were, 2 or 3, 4 people who wanted to come along who are in that situation.
Interesting, isn't that? It seemed to anyone at home who was watching it that illegal migrant was clearly quite well briefed. I think he was reading a script of questions from his phone, going into quite complex matters of importance, really, of things like the ECHR. And stunningly, he even mentioned the Northern Ireland Protocol. This is stuff most British people don't even know. And Reform UK's deputy leader, Richard Tice, posted this. And it has the caption, "Did BBCQT give headset and coaching to this channel illegal migrant?" Well, a few photos circulating online note the same, that shows this man wearing some kind of headset. Now, of course, I can't confirm if anyone was speaking to him, of course, but the visuals don't look good for the BBC, do they? And, what can I say for sure, at least, is especially he was picked by the production team. And then, as clearly Fiona Bruce pointed out, was asked a question directly to Yusuf, who was then faced with being asked if he would deport that man sat in front of him there in the studio. It is surreal. Surreal. The bias in this episode doesn't end there, though. Mike Tapp, the Labour MP for Dover and Immigration Minister, I'm sure inadvertently misled the Question Time audience when he claimed the government had deported 50,000 small boat migrants, when the actual number is only around 2,000. Not a peep from Fiona Bruce or the BBC fact-checking him on that one, or even correcting him once. And they've done that to Yusuf several times, by the way. This whole thing is a left-wing farce, isn't it? Did they once put in front of Zach Polansky, leader of the Green Party, did he get faced with a family whose lives have been destroyed by addiction, given Polansky's stance on legalising drugs? Nope. What about the Lib Dem deputy leader being faced down, by a family of postmaster who took their life as a result of the post office scandal that the Liberal Democrats oversaw in the last government? What about a Labour MP getting grilled by a business owner whose company's closed due to their abysmal handling of the economy and budget? No. Of course, things like that didn't happen because that wouldn't fit the BBC's agenda, would it? But one moment was quite exposing for that infamous hypnotist and now leader of the Green Party, Zach Polansky.
Most people in this audience and watching this at home will have had an experience of a care worker. 1 in 5 care workers are foreign nationals. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't particularly want to wipe someone's bum. And I'm very grateful for the people who do this work, this really important work, whether it's in the care sector, whether it's in the NHS.
Did he just indirectly say he thinks he's above the hard-working carers in Britain? Because when I look at it that way, it seems like a bit like class contempt, doesn't it? Wrapped up in all that silly left-wing rainbow flag virtue signalling nonsense, doesn't it? It's frankly insulting to every carer, British or not, by the way, who busts their back for the dignity of others and those that they care for, their loved ones. My grandmother had MS. My grandfather looked after her. Is he better than him? Huh? I want to know that. Because, Zach, that's not progressive, is it, mate? That's plantation thinking, isn't it? And the audience, unfortunately, sat there and lapped it up. No pushback, by the way, from Fiona Bruce, just awkward silence and nodding.
We're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change. And it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe? Should you be investing elsewhere? Are we looking at a potential global crash? What will it mean for your savings? Is there a way that you could be using your money that might be outside of government control even? Well, TallyMoney is potentially one solution. So I'm delighted to say that I'm joined today by the CEO and founder of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. What is TallyMoney?
Well, at TallyMoney, you basically get gold you can spend. So we give people an individual account in their name, everyday account. They get a sort code, an account number. They use that account just like they would pounds from their bank, but it's milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally.
Okay. Why would you do that, though? What is the benefit to the customer instead of just having a normal pound sterling account?
Gold's performance against the pound is above 11% per annum over the last 25 years on average. But we still need money in our daily lives, and we have savings. We know that it's good common sense and prudent to save up for things, not just living credit. You know, whether it's a holiday or a rainy day, your retirement planning, you need to have money in your life, basically, that you can rely on, that's dependable, that nobody meddles with, that nobody can weaponise against you, which is another element of government control when it's the government currency, which we could talk about another time. And it should be pretty simple and straightforward, and that's what we deliver at Tally. And really, we just want people to feel safe and happy with their money. There was a time when the bigger your bank balance, the more confident you felt. Now it's like, I need to do something with it. I can't leave it there. In Tally, you can.
Okay, brilliant. Cameron Parry from TallyMoney, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev.
All right, well, let's talk about that disgraceful episode of BBC Question Time. Former Scotland Yard detective Peter Bleksley's joining me, commissioning editor at The Spectator, Lara Brown, and former Labour advisor Matthew Lars is here too. Peter, I'll start with you. Jaws were dropping on that episode, weren't they? Across the country.
Well, first of all, I'd like to speak to Polanski. I wiped the backside of my late father many, many times when he had dementia and cleaned up all sorts of mess. It's what you do for someone you love. Also, when we couldn't cope and he went to a care home, inevitably, the people that looked after him, those carers, were wonderful. And in a league table, I would rank them above Polanski any day of the week. Likewise with my stepfather, both of them taken by dementia. I've been in a Question Time audience twice, some time ago. And you have to make your political views known. There's a briefing phone call beforehand and you have to fill out a questionnaire. So it's a very easy show for the BBC to manipulate the audience, should they so wish. They have all the data of people that want to go on it. And of course, I don't watch it these days. Firstly, because Fiona Bruce is a lightweight. They should have given the job to Victoria Derbyshire. She's a proper journalist. She'd have held people to account much more rigidly, I think. And secondly, I don't trust the BBC because it's an edited show. And after the Donald Trump fiasco, I wouldn't trust the BBC to edit anything.
Matthew, I'll come to you. I want to talk about Polanski in a moment, but let's first talk
I
about...
agree with
I think it's quite obvious. I mean, he was... we don't even need to talk about the Mike Tapp incident unless you really want to talk about it, because I think he wasn't fact-checked. That was clear as day, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think what he meant to say is there's 50,000 migrants, not 50,000 small boat migrants, so he got confused, but somebody should have picked up.
Yeah, fair enough. I do want to pick up on an illegal migrant being planted in the audience, and we can't say it was done fairly through the form that everyone else has to fill in if they want to go on BBC Question Time. It was clearly done deliberately because Fiona said, we've got someone here who's a former illegal migrant or now a refugee or asylum seeker, whatever their class is today. That was very targeted at Zia Yusuf.
I thought it was inappropriate. I mean, I started my TV career on the Jonathan Dimbleby show, which is a kind of ITV format that was very similar. I nearly became the editor of Question Time, but instead they went for somebody who only after being appointed did David Dimbleby find out that he was a member of the Socialist Workers' Party. So I was significantly...
Not making the BBC look
No. So I will do my bit for the BBC in the sense that I don't think that he was on a headpiece from the BBC. I think what he'd been done is they'd gone to a migrant rights group. That's what you do if you're doing a show where some formats you want, people who've experienced migration in one way, people who've protesting in Epping, maybe, but that's what they did. Alex, I agree with you. They didn't on this, and this is what the issue was with this episode of Question Time. In that clearly it was meant to be the normal Question Time format, and then suddenly out of nowhere come people who are clearly reading a script they've been given by a campaign group, and that's a bad day for the BBC. I don't think Question Time is at its finest at the moment. It's not because they didn't appoint me; that was about 10 years ago. But it's one thing to try and go to different groups. It's another thing to try and say, here are the British voters holding the electorate to account. So why is the BBC giving Zia Yusuf fuel and reform fuel to beat itself with? It's making it stick for its beat its own, whatever that phrase is.
My personal opinion, Lara, is I think they thought they were smarter than Zia Yusuf and Reform UK, and that actually this wasn't going to play into their advantage. They were going to have a gotcha moment. What do you think about the illegal migrant being placed in the panel?
Well, I might surprise people here, but I think it's OK, actually. I think if you're going to have an immigration special and you're going to talk about small boats, it is reasonable to have somebody who has come from a small boat ask questions. Obviously, once you do that, they will get briefed by a campaign group, which is my guess of what happened. That being said, my problem was the lack of proper opponents for that person in the audience. It was the whole tenure of the hour-long show, and it was question after question that tried to emphasise the value of migration, with no one protesting in Epping, no real representation of people who are sceptical of migration, which, bear in mind, is the majority public opinion. That was my issue.
It is indeed. Just to clarify for the audience, if you're wondering, that man is here illegally now. Let's move on to Polanski. Peter, I know you've made your comments about him. However, I just want to go back to it because I think many people watching tonight will go, I cannot believe this man said this. He's meant to represent the be kind left, the socialist left, the people that are understanding the workers of our country. But clearly, I think he just actually has proven he represents this soft millennial class of left-wing voter that is deeply out of touch with real people.
I have nothing but for contempt for people like him in particular. As I said earlier, both my dad and my stepdad were taken by dementia, a wicked, cruel, horrible, revolting disease. And I attended to their every need before they both went into care homes to a greater or lesser extent. And to say something like that just shows what a truly odious man he is. But at one point, twice I've been on Question Time in the audience. I've only lived in the UK all my life, worked hard, paid my taxes, never got to ask a question.
There you go.
Come here as an illegal on a dinghy, there you go, front and centre of the show.
Yeah, I do think many people are going to be having a massive issue with the way that was handled. I think you can maybe have a statement from somebody if you want to. Fiona Bruce wanted to read that out and get everyone's thoughts on it. A bit different to bringing someone in the audience. That was a place for somebody, as you said, Peter, who might have paid tax their whole life here. Matthew, I'll come to you on Polanski. What did you make of his comments?
I think Peter's hit the nail on the head. Absolutely despicable. And actually, I think what it does is everybody in the left shouldn't get tarred with the same brush. Whatever you think of the Labour Party, we just had a Deputy Prime Minister. She may have had to sit down as Deputy Prime Minister, but who much of her career was working directly in the care sector. You can disagree with her politics, but you wouldn't get a comment like that from somebody like Angela Rayner because, she's got that lived experience. So the Greens are a bunch of middle-class virtue signalling and a word I won't use even this late on a Saturday night.
No, fair enough. What do you make of it all, Lara?
I am really glad Zach made those comments because what he has just done is he has said out loud the left's approach to migration policy for the last 10 years. They think that they're above care work. They know that care work is immensely challenging and very difficult, but they don't want to pay the money to have it done properly. They don't want to recognise the challengingness of that work and then pay people fair wages. And they have decided to import an underclass of people to do jobs they think they're above. To hell with the consequences to the wider society, to the economy, to future pensions. I'm glad we now know that is what's happened, and Zach has confessed that.
Yeah.
I'd say the left, not the right.
Care workers that looked after both my stepdad and my dad were native Brits and people who'd come from foreign countries. They were unbelievable.
Yeah, I had a similar experience with my mother.
Zach Polanski is not fit to hold a light to him.
And they deserve to be paid more than they are, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, the government has said it wants to do a national care service. I think it's a huge way to go, but I hope at last there's an acknowledgement. So not everybody on the left, but the hard left, the sort of, virtue signalling hard left, which the Greens are now the current vehicle for, are just a disgrace.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the public are outraged by this. Zach Polanski has posted that he has been misrepresented, saying, of course, this isn't all being a care worker is, and I would never want to imply that it is, but it is a part of it. And I repeat what I said. I'm really grateful to people who do this vital work wherever they're from.
Too late, pal.
On the issue of BBC Question Time, a spokesperson told GB News this: as immigration continues to be a primary concern for people in the UK, Question Time held a special episode in Dover with panellists from across the political spectrum, with an audience with a range of views and experiences. Over 20 audience members asked questions and contributed to the debate, including 2 people with direct experience of the asylum system in the UK who have been granted, indeed, refugee status. A BBC spokesperson has also told GB News all the parties represented on the panel were told the day before the show that there would be people in the audience who had been through the asylum system. However, I do note that Zia Yusuf has mentioned, even to me on the show on Thursday, that he was told 10 minutes before the show. OK, there we go.